Hello everyone. Enjoy these relaxing moments while you watch.
When Ethan became a father, he had imagined his final days surrounded by his children and grandchildren, overflowing with love and happiness with them by his side. However, life had destined him for a completely different ending. He never thought that the very children he had given life to could be capable of such a cruel plan. Ethan and Amanda met when they were both very young, just 19 years old. It was a different time, far removed from the modern life that young people today are familiar with. Back then, courting required strict rules and, most importantly, the approval of the girl's parents, which made meeting in private a rare occasion, carefully planned out. However, fate had a clear plan for them, and love blossomed from the very first moment. Ethan was full of dreams and hopes, and Amanda saw in his eyes a warmth and sincerity that made her feel safe. Their secret meetings under the dim moonlight and long walks through the flower garden seemed enough to bind them in a love they felt was eternal. Every letter they exchanged was filled with deep, genuine emotions, and every word written was a promise of a future together. From the first day they were together, they never parted. They shared laughter, secrets, and dreams, building a bond that overcame all obstacles. Their mutual respect and harmony became the foundation upon which they built their life together, a life that Ethan envisioned to be full of children and an old age filled with love and happiness. But life is unpredictable, full of unexpected twists, and had different plans for them. Ethan and Amanda were married in an intimate and emotional ceremony surrounded by family and friends who shared in their joy. In the early years of their marriage, their home was filled with joy as they welcomed 3 children. Life seemed to smile upon them, with every sound of children's laughter echoing like the melody of dreams come true. However, when the youngest child turned 4, fate dealt them a cruel hand. A strange illness took Amanda from him. Ethan lost the greatest love of his life and, in a moment, became a widower at just over 30 years old, facing the painful reality of raising 3 children on his own. Amanda's sudden death was a devastating shock, but with an inner resilience, Ethan decided to move forward, honoring his wife's memory and dedicating himself to his children's upbringing. Ethan primarily worked outside, spending evenings playing with the children while Amanda took care of the household and the kids in his place. However, Amanda's sudden departure changed his world from one day to the next, plunging him into deep grief and the harsh reality of having to both earn money and care for his children like a mother. With courage born out of love for his children, Ethan wiped away his tears and decided to find a way forward, no matter how painful and exhausting it might be. He opened a small shop at home, a job that allowed him to stay close to his children and care for them during those tough times. From choosing a name for the shop to greeting his first customers, Ethan poured all his heart and dedication into it, turning his pain into a source of strength. He created an environment where he could work and, at the same time, be present in his children's lives, bringing warmth back to a family where laughter and hope began to ring once again. Each small success of the shop was not just an economic victory but a testament to the resilience and boundless love he had for his family. At times, Ethan chose to skip meals or eat very little to save money and invest in the shop, a huge sacrifice that symbolized his immense strength and determination. He knew it was only temporary, and this strict saving would bring greater rewards in the future. Every time he skipped a meal or lost a few hours of sleep, he did so with the belief that he was building a better future for his children. This spirit of sacrifice not only strengthened his shop but also deepened the admiration and respect his children had for him, as they saw in their father a living example of courage and unconditional love. Ethan was confident that he was planting the right seeds in his children's hearts and that these sacrifices would be repaid when he grew old. However, life still had painful challenges in store for him. Ethan knew that opening a handcrafted tea shop would be the perfect job for him, a way to combine his talent for making and brewing tea with the ability to work from home. Step by step, his tea shop gained a reputation for offering delicious, appealing products made with extraordinary dedication. The community, learning of Ethan's struggles, deeply admired his ability to rise after his wife's tragic death and chose to support him. Many neighbors not only became loyal customers but also admired Ethan's bravery and hard work. His tireless efforts and dedication to the tea shop not only allowed him to sustain his family but also achieved what many thought impossible, sending his 3 children to the best schools in the city. Although it meant Ethan had to wear the same clothes for many years, the high-quality education his children received was seen by everyone as the ultimate proof of his success, not only as a businessman but as a wonderful father and pillar of the family. It was a dream he had always cherished, and through his sacrifice and determination, he finally made it come true. At 35, Ethan was a man successful both inside and out. His dark hair and bright green eyes, full of determination and hope, seemed to reflect the freshness and vitality of the products he brewed each day. His skin was slightly tanned from the early morning sun during his tea-selling rounds, and his warm, genuine smile was impossible for anyone to ignore. Customers and neighbors constantly praised his character and strength, applauding how he maintained his effort and dignity amidst challenges that few could match. However, the loss of Amanda still weighed heavily on Ethan's heart. Despite the admiration he received and the offers that came his way, he chose to honor the memory of his wife. For Ethan, beyond being a man, he was also a father, and the grief over Amanda became a pillar in the emotional structure that kept his family strong. Often at night, in the silence of his home, Ethan felt Amanda's absence with an intensity only silence could bring. In his solitude, he found comfort in the memories of the happy moments they shared and the promise they made to each other to care for one another beyond the boundaries of life and death. With such devotion, his business continued to thrive. The excellence of his product and the warmth in his customer service spread from one person to another, drawing more and more people to his small tea shop. It wasn't long before Ethan decided to open additional stores across the city. His mornings began before dawn, supervising every detail to ensure everything was perfect. With the help of a loyal staff, they expanded, bringing their delicious products to various neighborhoods. This success allowed Ethan and his children to live a more comfortable life, with fewer financial worries, though he never stopped working harder than he did on the first day. The success of the business wasn't only due to the quality of the products but also to his ability to adapt to his customers' needs. He introduced new types of tea and even catered to the ultra-wealthy tea enthusiasts, a novelty in those years. He also invested in technology to improve production efficiency and hired talented experts who shared his passion for the art of tea making. Thanks to his vision and relentless efforts, Ethan not only built a successful business but also created a community centered around his tea shops, where every customer felt they were part of something greater. However, this success caused his children to grow more distant, especially as they entered their teenage years. The children who once helped out in the shop and spent much time with their father began seeking other activities, looking for interests outside the family. Over time, one by one, they decided to pursue their education and gradually left the home Ethan had worked so hard to build. The house, once filled with laughter and conversation, grew quieter. Though Ethan was proud to see his children chasing their dreams, he couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness at the diminishing family moments. First, his eldest son, Michael, met his wife, Fiona, during college. They started dating, and Michael's visits home became less frequent as their relationship grew serious. Michael and Fiona married shortly after graduation, and not long after, they had their first child, bringing Ethan the joy of becoming a grandfather. Next was Clara, his second daughter, who found love during a volunteer trip. There, she met Leo, a young man passionate about social work. Their relationship was strengthened by shared interests, and like Michael, Clara soon left home to start her life with Leo. They married in a simple yet love-filled ceremony, and the birth of their children brought Ethan immense happiness, though it also came with a quiet longing for the days when his children were small. Lastly, Eddie, his youngest son, met his partner, Ella, at his first job. Their relationship quickly blossomed, and before Ethan knew it, Eddie was planning his wedding and dreaming of a life full of projects and travel with Ella. Ethan watched his youngest son carve out his path with pride, but couldn't avoid the bittersweet feeling as he recalled the boy who once ran mischievously around the house. Though each new marriage brought joy and expanded the family with the arrival of grandchildren, Ethan couldn't help but feel a quiet yearning as he saw his children grow up and build their own lives. He reminded himself that this day had to come eventually. As the years passed and old age highlighted his loneliness, Ethan decided it was time to seek companionship. His children and grandchildren rarely visited, and his heart still belonged to Amanda, his one great love from his youth, the mother of his children, and the wife who now rested in peace. Sitting on his rocking chair with a photo album on his lap, Ethan reminisced about each phase of his life with Amanda and their children. The house, once filled with laughter and conversations, now felt too big for him. The idea of having a pet started to form in his mind after a neighbor spoke about a local pet store. Ethan thought about adopting a dog, knowing it would be a loyal companion, bringing joy and liveliness to his days. The prospect of having a four-legged friend to care for and love ignited in him an excitement he hadn't felt in a long time. With this decision, Ethan believed he had found a new purpose in life, a wonderful experience of sharing his days with a new family member. The next morning, Ethan woke up early with a clear determination to arrange his affairs perfectly before heading to the pet store. Feeling both anxious and excited, he made coffee, cleaned the house, and ensured everything was spotless. He wanted to be fully prepared to welcome his new companion without any worries. Ethan walked to the tea shop, but as he approached, he couldn't continue forward. There, in front of him, was a thin, sad-eyed dog, its legs trembling weakly as it rummaged through trash bags for a scrap of food. The dog shivered from the cold, its eyes pleading for kindness. Ethan felt his heart melt as he gazed at the helpless creature and, without hesitation, he slowly approached, careful not to scare it away. The little puppy, with a small bark and its tail tucked between its legs, slowly approached Ethan and sniffed him. Time seemed to stop at that moment as Ethan gently bent down. It was an adorable puppy, only a few months old and clearly deprived of love and care. Just when Ethan needed a loyal companion, the little puppy appeared, as if fate had connected them at the perfect time. Without hesitation, Ethan picked it up, and the puppy showed its gratitude by gently licking his hand, its eyes filled with comfort. From that moment, they both knew they needed each other. Ethan immediately headed to the nearest veterinary clinic, carrying the little dog wrapped in his coat to protect it from the cold. At the clinic, the staff took the puppy in with gentle, professional care. After a thorough examination, they administered the necessary vaccines and provided Ethan with detailed instructions on how to care for it, including a special diet, hygiene, and creating a cozy space for the puppy to rest. They also advised him to keep the dog warm and give it plenty of love and attention to help it recover quickly. With dedication and gratitude, Ethan carefully noted down every detail. The clinic also provided him with some initial supplies and recommended that he return for regular checkups. With the little puppy safely in his arms and a renewed sense of hope in his heart, Ethan headed home, knowing that a new chapter full of love and companionship had just begun. He knew that the days of loneliness were gone forever. On the way home, Ethan couldn't help but gaze at the little puppy with eyes full of affection. Their eyes met, and in that moment, he felt a deep, sincere connection. With a trembling yet affectionate smile, Ethan whispered, "I'll call you Amanda because I've already loved you like I loved my late wife. I know you'll be loyal and stay by my side, just as she did. What do you think?" The little puppy, as if understanding every word, tilted its head and responded with a small, affectionate growl. Ethan felt his once sorrow-filled heart now brightened by a new sense of hope. He was so moved he couldn't hold back tears of happiness as he gently stroked Amanda's head, knowing that this small creature would bring a new light into his life. From the very first day, Amanda felt right at home, quickly adapting to Ethan's routines and rhythm. She was a curious and playful puppy but also very obedient and loving. Over time, Amanda grew from a little puppy into a beautiful, full-grown dog, always by Ethan's side, an inseparable companion. As the years went by, they lived happily, knowing they had found in each other the perfect friend. The devotion and love they shared became the cornerstone of their days, filling their lives with unforgettable moments and unconditional love that grew stronger with time. One day, Michael, Clara, and Eddie came to visit their father. Ethan greeted them with surprise and boundless joy. It had been months since he had heard from them, and seeing them again filled his heart with happiness. As he hugged each of his children, his eyes welled up with tears of joy. However, that joy was short-lived and quickly turned into something terrible for the old father. After the initial greetings, his children's faces grew serious. Michael, with a trembling voice, explained that they had come to discuss something important. Ethan, anxious and fearful, felt as if his world was crumbling as he listened to the bad news they brought. His heart sank as Maria explained they had come to talk about the inheritance. Michael's voice reflected a seriousness and coldness that Ethan had never noticed before. Clara and Eddie nodded silently in agreement with every word Michael said. Ethan couldn't believe what he was hearing. It felt as if the ground beneath him had opened up. The unexpected visit that had initially brought joy now turned into a bitter moment of disappointment and sorrow. The children he had loved and cared for so much were now more concerned with material wealth than family bonds. But children, don't you think it's too early to talk about this? I'm still alive and well, he said in pain. Michael, impulsive and with no emotion on his face, replied that they couldn't wait any longer and had already decided to divide the inheritance before it was too late. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. You are our biggest motivation to keep creating. Let us know where you're watching from so we can see how far this video has reached around the world. Don't forget to hit like if you found it interesting, and share it with your friends too. Ethan couldn't believe what was happening. His children now seemed completely different from the ones he had raised with love and dedication. He felt a deep void in his heart as he realized that material possessions had become their priority instead of family love. Dad, Michael continued, his voice unchanged. We've already prepared your will. All you need to do is sign it. The coldness in Michael's words sent a chill down Ethan's spine. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Prepared my will, he muttered, his voice choked with shock and pain. After months of not seeing you, you come just to get me to sign a paper that takes away everything I've worked for my entire life without even asking me first. Michael, expressionless, responded with a firm gaze. We can't wait any longer, Dad. It's best to prevent conflicts in the future. Ethan felt his throat tighten and his eyes fill with tears. I can't believe that my own children are only thinking about inheritance after everything I've done for you. Dad, this is for everyone's best interest. Eddie tried to calm the situation, but his efforts were in vain. It's not for everyone's benefit, but for yours, Ethan said through tears rolling down his cheeks. He couldn't understand how the children he had loved and cared for all his life could do this to him. Why are you doing this to me? He asked, while Amanda stood beside him, intently watching. Ethan continued to cry, unable to take his eyes off his children, hoping for a sign of compassion that never came. Instead, impatience began to show on the faces of all three. You don't understand the situation, Dad, Clara said, changing tactics. We've noticed for a while that you're no longer of sound mind. We're worried you might make wrong decisions. Eddie nodded in agreement with his sister. That's right, Dad. We've spoken to experts, and they all agree you're no longer able to manage things on your own. It's best if you move into a nursing home where you can get better care. Those words fell like daggers on Ethan, as if cold water had been splashed on his face. Amanda, standing beside him, growled in protest as she sensed the strangers, in her eyes, speaking to her master in such a manner. But Michael interrupted with an authoritative gesture. We know what's best for you, Dad. And since when do you keep a stray dog in the house? See, Dad, you're doing strange things. With a broken heart, Ethan could hardly believe what he was hearing. So this is how you plan to get rid of me, sending me to a nursing home like an old piece of furniture, he said painfully. Oh, Dad, Eddie replied in a tone of fake concern. This is for your own good. You'll be safe in the nursing home and well taken care of. We all know you can't live alone anymore." The pain and betrayal were almost unbearable for Ethan, who had never thought that his own children could be so cruel. Trying to end what he considered a nightmare, he simply said that he needed time to think. Staggering from the shock, Ethan hoped for a word of comfort or a sign of affection from his children. However, it was Clara who abruptly broke the silence. "You have until noon tomorrow to decide." Her voice showed no emotion. Eddie and Michael nodded in agreement, and all three turned to leave. There was no hug, no goodbye, not even a backward glance. They left, leaving Ethan alone with his tears and broken heart. As they walked away, Michael didn't hide his words from his siblings. "If we can't get Dad to sign and move into the nursing home, I know a doctor willing to sign off that he's incapacitated, so we can take control of the assets and make decisions for him." Clara responded in a low voice. "Are you sure about that, Michael? I don't want to get into legal trouble." "Trust me," Michael assured her. "The doctor is very reliable. We just need to act fast." But they didn't realize that Ethan, with tear-filled eyes, had followed them to the door and overheard their wicked plan. The pain pierced him like a knife. He could barely breathe as he realized the extent of the betrayal and greed in his children's hearts. Eddie nervously asked, "What if someone finds out about this?" "No one will know," Michael replied coldly. "To everyone else, we'll just be the concerned children, only wanting what's best for Dad." Those words cut through Ethan's heart like daggers. "Is this what I raised?" he thought as he slowly walked back from the door, feeling like the world was collapsing around him. Ethan burst into sobs as he held Amanda, his loyal companion, tightly. Between sobs, he couldn't stop asking himself where he had gone wrong, what he had done to deserve such treatment from his own children. He felt lost, with no answers. He had given his whole life to his children. Who were these people who now saw him only as an obstacle to their inheritance while he was still alive? They saw him as a burden. Each tear that fell reflected the pain of being betrayed by those he trusted the most. Ethan cried endlessly, and Amanda, his faithful friend, tried to comfort him by curling up beside him. Through the sobs and painful sighs, Ethan wondered what he could do to confront this terrible scheme from his own children. His heart ached at the thought of them taking away everything he had spent his life building. "I don't want to go to a nursing home," he sobbed through his tears, feeling more desperate by the minute. Looking into Amanda's eyes, he hugged her tightly, feeling the warmth of her fur. "What will happen to you if I'm sent to a nursing home?" he asked with a broken heart. He couldn't bear the thought of his beloved dog being abandoned on the streets or, worse, sent to a shelter. The possibility crushed him. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep, his mind tangled with thoughts and strategies, trying to figure out a plan to stop his children from getting what they wanted. In the darkness of the room, with Amanda softly snoring beside him, already deep in sleep, Ethan considered the actions he needed to take. He knew he had to protect what he had built and, most importantly, protect his loyal friend. He tried to calm his mind and decided he had to be logical and meticulous. He wasn't going to let himself be betrayed without a fight, and he knew he had until noon to act. The next morning, the first thing he did was call his trusted lawyer and request that he draft a new will. In it, Ethan stated that his children wouldn't receive any inheritance from him unless they could prove they had cared for him and Amanda in his final days. Otherwise, all of his assets would be donated to charity. He signed the will and sent it back to the lawyer for safekeeping. With that document, Ethan felt a temporary sense of relief, knowing he had taken steps to protect the future for both himself and Amanda. However, he still couldn't rest easy, fearing that his children might have other plans and would try to force him into a nursing home against his will. So, he returned home, packed 2 large bags with everything he needed, and looked at Amanda with affection and determination. "This is our moment, my dear friend. We will be free until the very end. You won't be sent to a shelter, and I won't end up in a nursing home," he said with resolve, feeling a sense of liberation and hope. He picked up the phone and called for a taxi. When it arrived at his gate, Ethan, still holding Amanda, stepped out. "Driver, could you help me load these bags into the car?" he asked. "Of course, sir," the driver replied quickly. Once settled in the car, Ethan said, "Take me to the most beautiful beach." The driver, confused but compliant, agreed and started driving. Ethan had a dream he had postponed all his life: to see the ocean. With that goal in mind, he sat in the car for hours, enjoying the changing scenery as the wheels rolled along the road. Amanda sat in the seat, looking out at the view with curious eyes and her tongue hanging out, as if sharing in her owner's joy and newfound freedom. Finally, when they reached their destination, Ethan felt an indescribable peace as he saw the ocean stretch out before him. He decided to rent a small beach house, a cozy place where the two of them could live in peace. Though he had his fears, Ethan was still the owner of several businesses and now had access to profits he had never touched, always saving for the future. But now, he was determined to use those resources to enjoy life with Amanda. Every day, he woke up to the sound of the waves and spent his afternoons walking along the beach, his bare feet sinking into the sand while Amanda joyfully ran around. The salty air filled his lungs, and a sense of freedom enveloped him. Ethan had found his place, a refuge where he no longer had to worry about betrayal. He was determined to live out his final days fully with his loyal companion, cherishing every sunset and living the dream he had always held in his heart. Then, one day, while resting by the shore, Ethan quietly passed away. He died peacefully with Amanda by his side. His children, who hadn't heard from him since he decided to leave everything behind, had to face the painful reality that they never got the chance to say goodbye to their father. When they finally gained access to the will, they discovered that the betrayal they had inflicted had left a deep scar. Ethan had decided to leave all his assets to charity, giving them nothing. Feeling betrayed and stripped of both a farewell and an inheritance, Ethan's children realized too late the consequences of their actions. This story raises questions about forgiveness, betrayal, and the decisions we make in life. In his final act of liberation and justice, Ethan chose to spend his last days in peace, far from the turmoil and wounds of the past. His story teaches us that nothing is guaranteed for tomorrow, so we must live each day fully and never postpone our dreams. What would you do if you were in Ethan's position? Would you forgive your children for their betrayal or choose to leave them nothing and walk away from it all?
If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.